As you can see behind me, summer lesson planning for next school year is going to look quite different. I have to prioritize what I want to put my personal stamp on and what is going to just get started as is and then embellish as we go along, because you know how I like to do. And I finally have all the pieces of what I mentioned before, which is Land of Liberty, which is the high school core knowledge U.S. history, which was done in partnership with Louisiana State Standards. Just mentioned that. It is available for free as a free download if you missed all that. But I thought maybe some of you would be interested of getting a sneak peek inside of what it looks like, all the pieces printed. They also have a high school civics if you weren't aware. So let's get into it. Show you what I'm working with this summer, or at least one of the pieces, and take it from there. Welcome back, friends. If you're new here, I'm Arlene. This is A&Co. This is a bit of a kitchen sink channel, a little bit of everything, a lot of books, close to living, and a little bit of homeschooling as well. So I have two high schoolers, if you're new to my channel, and I am preparing. Normally my summer months, we do not school year round. We did in the younger years, but from middle school on, we took, I think it was started at 6th grade, maybe. Pretty sure, maybe 7th grade, I don't know. At some point in middle school, we decided to take summers off, and it has been the best decision for them. So in the summer, I do a lot of my stamp on things and really go through things that I have chosen. I don't have everything chosen yet, and I can't order a lot of things. As I said, we're moving and we're going to be displaced for a little bit because this home thankfully is under contract, which means we'll need to be displaced for a little bit until our new home is done being built. So stick around to the next episode because I have a home built update and a lot has changed since I last saw you. So I want to show you all that excitement, and then also some summer reads, new summer reads that are on my radar. But I'm going to turn the camera around in just a little bit, but let me just show you all the pieces. So I had to decide what I was going to keep out and take to our temp home with us. And we're probably going to be there for a month or so, is what we estimate. So I have just the open-ended school nest. This is the plan and journal. This is not the homeschool specific, but this is smaller profile, and I just thought it would have worked better for this instant. I was planning on using it as my record keeper. We'll see how it develops, because you guys know I review planners, so I have a lot of options and stuff like that, but you know that school nest always makes it into the mix in some type of form, usually as my record keeper, because we do portfolio reviews and stuff like that. So I have my post-its because I'm going to be marking things up, and where I can add, I have to decide what color is going to mean what. I have not done all that. But here is the pieces. So I'm going to decide. This is how I work. Post-its is my friend. I decide which color is going to be what. Add a book to do with this, and that's going to be that, or do a creative project. And I'm probably just deciding my colors with you right now. All right, so this is Land of Liberty, and this is not like other core knowledge from what I know, because this is hardcover. This is like textbook. It even has the old school, friends, look, it has the old school little print of this book is property of all that jazz. And fun fact, I felt a little special because it took me a bit to get all the pieces. They were very great and responsive, so no issues there, but I was missing some parts initially, which I mentioned, and I found out that I was the first person to order the physical copy. I was like, oh my gosh, now I feel special. Yeah, it's okay. it's okay. Like, yeah, just like send me what's missing. It's cool. Like now I feel super special. Anyway, so I was the first person to order the physical copy. I was stalking them about this because at first, when I first saw the Land of Liberty, this US history for high school, as far as I know, back then, they didn't have it that you can download. So I had no idea what I was looking at. So I wasn't gonna like order it. I had no idea what it was. But then my daughter had requested to do something similar to the middle school core knowledge US history. That format really worked well for her and she really liked that. And it's something that we ended up doing like towards the end of the school year as a filler, you know, with more civics and stuff like that. And I like leveled it out for her. However, she really wanted to continue that. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to continue to like level something up, which is perfectly fine if you do. But that triggered me to go back to the website. And then I realized that they had it available as a free download. So you don't have to order anything. I just don't work well out of PDFs, nor do I want to print all that. I just don't. That's my limitations, all right? So it is a pretty penny to order everything printed. You don't need to print everything. And I can show you which parts that you probably could get away with just using online if you want to do like half and half, or, you know, just do all digital if that works for you and your family. Anyway, so I have volume, a comprehensive program in US history, integrating civics, geography, economics, and exploring concepts and skills specialized in the Louisiana state standards and stuff like that, which I said, whichever, whatever. So this is volume 2, and they're both heavy duty textbooks. So now I'm like, oh, okay, this is why. I mean, it wasn't super expensive, it's just because I ordered the whole thing. And I was gonna order the civics too, but then I was like, that's a lot. I don't know. I got sticker shocked. Okay, and then I have the DBQ workbook. I'm not sure how much we're gonna use this, but I think I'm gonna adapt a lot of the questions and things in there because they're really cool. As far as I can tell, this is not a review. This is like a first impression type of thing. And I'm just like letting you sneak into what I'm working on and what I'm going to be digging into. Okay. I'm not doing all that. Right. But you can download it yourself and take a look and see if it's for you. I mean, I don't think any history is perfect. We just have to put our own stamp on it. And then this is the student edition. So this is the teacher and then the student. So here's where you can like save money. I would say what's easier if you're using any level of core knowledge is to order the printed readers. Usually those are very inexpensive. I think this one's like $3. And don't quote me on that. I can be thinking about the wrong book. So purchase the readers, the student ones, so your kiddo has something to like hold and like write in if it's something like that. And then if you are one of those people that can do that, keep the teacher guide digitally or print it yourself. I am not one of those people, so I order everything printed. But that is where you can save money if you want to order things printed. Then I have the teacher guides, which I showed briefly before. This is volume 1, and there's a whole other sucker for volume 2. There's a lot. There's a lot. And then there is an online PDF file with the online resources, because there's like links and videos and things like that. There's a lot. Does this cover absolutely everything? No, it's a survey. It's a high school US history course. That's what we were looking for. We're not for this particular student, that's what we were looking for. All right, let's turn the camera around and let's take a look at what I'm working. Okay, so first, this is the student volume. Some people like the readers from core knowledge and they use it alongside other things, and you can do that. But if you're doing this as your full curricula, you really need the teacher guide because that's where it fleshes everything out. I don't say that you necessarily need to add this unless that's your format and this is more traditional. However, if your kiddo needs that because whatever their path is, this would make sense to be prepared for that, then that's great. There you have it. So this one, like I said, the middle school level covers more of like indigenous history and things like that, like starts a little bit earlier. From what I can see, I can be totally wrong because I have not read through every page, and you guys know I am not gonna lie to you and tell you that I know more than I do. But this one seems to start a little bit later, more of like how typical high school courses start. And integrate some indigenous stories throughout as where it relates, but not like starting super early. That's what I'm thinking. However, since we've been in that time period for so long, I don't mind picking up where we left off after 9th grade year, which we took all, main lesson block. And I really think I'm gonna Waldorfify, that's not even a word, this, and give it a little bit of that energy and maybe block it off a little bit, because that's how she learns best. And this is for my 11th grader. So here you start with, this is going to be very similar to what you're used to seeing in the middle school, but is more robust. The content, the questions, the inquiry, the analysis, the output, all that is going to be more robust. If your kiddo has a little bit of harder time, relating to the stories with the vocabulary being a little bit more advanced, maybe you want to adapt the middle school one and go from there. I don't know, you do you. I'm not here to tell you what's right and what's wrong. So here is setting up the scene. I love that. Listen, I don't even have a tripod set up. I don't know even where it is. I'm in the middle of packing, friends, and I'm doing this for you. Because I know some people are like, can you show a little bit of it? Because it's just like, I don't know, easier than when you download it, I guess. I don't know, everybody's different. It's cool. Anyway, so I love how it just like sets up the scene and puts like the kiddos right in there. And then there's a framing question. So very traditionally aligned and things like that, which is fine. That's what we were looking for. We're not in the stage of over complicating things. So here it has like before the revolution. And again, I didn't think this was going to be for my daughter because she does not like textbook type of reading. But she really clicked when I gave her that Civics reader, and we did some other stuff with it because I have the teacher guide and all that, and then I added to it. She really enjoyed the format. So I don't know, like it just clicks for her. Then you have primary sources here. You have timelines, so you can do a lot of timeline work. There is a lot of the primary source things in this workbook that I'm going to show you. While we're at it, why not? So here's like letters from a farmer in Pennsylvania. And then you have like, connecting the source, understanding the source, draw a conclusion. And then you have some questions here. And they're not like multiple choice type of thing. You got to put some thought into it. But that is this book. And then you have like here. So I love that you have everything at your fingertips with the primary source, because that's like, pretty huge with that leap and step. If you haven't done that in middle school yet, that is going to be expected of them in the high school level courses. Anyway, so that's this, just showing you that real quick. But this one, there's pictures throughout, like you remember. There is think twice, and then the same thing. Think twice questions, and these things is think twice. I have done it both ways, where I've had my kiddos like write out the answer, like my son was doing like the world history middle school one last year, and write out his response. Or sometimes we just do it verbally, like just orally. Anyway, so that is the first volume, just so you can get a little bit of a glance. So what I'm going to be working on is trying to read at least through this first volume and marking things up. Not only this, but obviously focusing on the teacher guide and what things I'm going to omit. I'm not making this high output course, so I want to make sure that I go through it and I'm well prepared to support her. So after you see the unit, so you have the first 3 units here in the volume 1. Under each unit, you will see 3 topics. So hopefully this is helpful to you. So when you're looking at the big files, I mean, it's really arranged really nicely and easy to go through, but maybe this will make it easier for you to know where to find the information. Topic 1, 2, and 3. So this starts with founding and the governing of a nation, Western expansion and Native American experience, a nation divided and reconstructed. Again, don't ask me about the content. I have not read through all this. It's just giving you an idea. You can read it all for yourself. You go to the next unit, which is page 150.
15 here. So this is like what I'm going to be marking up, and maybe even if something we have done like recently, I will omit something because I want to make sure we get to modern history. That's always like the thing, you know, especially whether it's world or US history, you never get to the end and it's so frustrating. All right, so here is the next unit. So you have the Western Frontier, industrialization, immigration, and urbanization. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Reform in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And then the last unit is hanging out here, all right? And you're just gonna see my stream of consciousness of how I do things. All right, so the last unit actually only has 2 topics, and that's the age of imperialism and World War I. So now let me show you the next volume. Okay, so volume 2. Same setup, everything's going to be the same, it's just the topics are different. It continues on, so you have unit 4, 5, and 6, so there's 6 total units for this course. You have Between the Fires, Through the World at War, Tension Abroad, Change at Home, The Modern Age, and Recent Past. So the first topics we're going to look at is post-war United States in the 1920s, the Great Depression, and World War II. And then the next unit is page 101. Let's find that. Just so you have an idea what's covered. And again, it's a survey, but you can make it as in-depth as you want. They make a lot of suggestions. When we look at the teacher guide, you can see that. The early Cold War, 1945-1960s, social and civil rights movement, and the later years, end of the Cold War, 1960s, 1991. And then I believe it said 230 something, yeah. All right, so then the last one has 2 topics, just like this first volume, and that's the modern age in the recent past, navigating the new world order, US influence and intervention, and then 2 domestic affairs, new challenges and polarization. So let's see where it ends, just because I'm curious. Let's do this together. I guess I haven't gotten this far. Election night 2000. This hasn't been. Where do we end? Where do we end? Just give me an idea. We're gonna be looking through this stuff during the summer. If you guys are interested in seeing where like I land as I continue to like, you know, plan this out. Right now we're just looking through and see what I plan to do with it. Let me know. I don't want to create more work for myself if you're not interested. All right, so here we have Obama, here the victory in 2008, and it seems like that is where we close off. So anything more recent, you're gonna have to like supplement, which I have a lot of resources for that. Okay, so let's just look at one teacher guide because they're the same. It's just obviously different units. So this is your volume 1 teacher guide. They're hefty. They're divided the same way. You have the big idea here. So the history of the United States, story of founding principles tested and redefined across 2.5 centuries of growth, conflict, reform, and achievement. Essential, what they cover. And then here it has just like your other core knowledge for the lower levels at a glance. Then you have program resources, student components. It breaks everything down for you. There's a lot of hand holding with core knowledge. Again, this is not going to be for everyone. This is very traditional. There's a lot of homeschool specific history curricula out there. This is what we're feeling right now is going to work for my oldest. So that's what we're going for. I know there's other things out there, but everybody, that's what you need to do, okay? All right, so here they have the teacher components. It tells you all the little pieces so you know if you want it all, that you have it all. And then you have the online resources that I talked to you about. The pacing guide, which I love. I love a good pacing guide. What teachers need to know, talk it over. And then there is a lot of like, if you didn't read everything on here beforehand, you're gonna have like the cheat notes in here too. But that's not my plan. Then you have the framing questions that I showed you in the student guide right on here too, so you can have open discussions with it. You have core vocabulary, which I have my kiddos always keep the vocabulary list and copy all those down. And then it's all broken out. And then you have activity pages as well. Primary source analysis, Venn diagram, American system, all this other things. These all can be found in the teacher resources for each unit. And then here, for example, you have unit 1, topic 1, and the primary focus objectives. I always want to know what the objective, you've heard me say this numerous times if you watch my channel when I was more into doing very deep curricular reviews and things like that. One of the things I would point out if it had objectives. What is the aim? What is the purpose? What are we looking to achieve? And again, materials needed. This is if you're doing it full on, all the things, all that stuff. And it tells you exactly where to find the stuff and the online resources. You have the vocabulary definitions right on here with examples. So that's great. Again, if you choose to get that involved with it, the core lesson. And it says, okay, here's where I wanted to give you an example. Introduce founding and early development of the nation. Direct students to examine the unit opener image, which shows the writing of the Declaration of Independence. Explain the Declaration of Independence was one of the first steps in forming a new government. It literally spells out what to say. So if you're not confident in a certain subject, this is where core knowledge could be a good option for you. And I'm talking about the lower levels, because obviously there's only 2 courses available for high school right now for core knowledge, but I'm just talking about for the lower levels too, that it may be an option for you. If you feel like you need a lot of hand holding, it's spelled out for you even in the lower levels like this. Then introduce the governing nation. Call students' attention to the framing question. Tell the students to look for events that convince the American colonists that they should be independent. It literally fleshes this out. You're not just handing over your student a student reader and saying, have a nice day, figure this out, but it's teaching you how to still teach this lesson. Now, if you're still looking for very independently driven courses, this may not be for you, because unless you're just going to give them the student reader and say, have a nice day, there is still teacher involvement when it comes to these type of courses, okay? And, you know, again, to each your own. Guided reading support for founding and governing nation. The Boston Tea Party tells you scaffold understanding as follows. Support. Students may need help with the distinction between Great Britain and England and such on. Support. Although the tea aboard the ship belonged to the ships themselves, the Dartmouth and the Eleanor and the Beaver, whatever. It keeps going. So it tells you where to scaffold, where to dig deeper, and where to explain further. And then after students read the text, ask the following questions. What disagreements led to the Boston Tea Party? And then it has an example answer of what you're looking for. Analytical. Why did the protesters target tea shipments specifically? So again, these questions are going to dive a little bit deeper than, not a little bit, quite a bit, than your middle school ones, right? Which those are very much level appropriate. Then here, again, scaffold understanding as follows. Have student read the section on page 4 and 5. So here is where you are literally being told how to paste this. Have the students do the core vocabulary. Here's how you support. After the students read the text, ask the following questions. Again, it tells you when it's analytical. Here's when think twice that you see it on the student reader. And then it continues on page 5 to 8. There is support for basically every single section that your student is going to be reading. So this is where my little post-its are going to come in, and I've been marking up, okay, I'm definitely want to do this, but I'm thinking about my specific student, and I am not making this a high output course. Doing everything. That is what is appropriate for my student. I'm not doing everything, and you don't have to do everything. This is, you know, this has a buffet of things. So here, I'm going to be marking up, like, definitely, and I'm going to use my flags and stuff. Okay, I want to do this on this lesson. And then make notes. Okay, this would be a good one to add additional reading or video or anything like that. And then that's how I'm going to go through this during the summer. So if you're interested in seeing that process a little bit more, and then here you have the little icon for activity page and so on. And then if you are looking at that, this continues on. Teacher resources, so topic assessments. This is a little jump further, but this is the first one I found with the answer key, primary analysis, and all that stuff. So we saw the DBQ book, but let's say your kiddo needs more like the multiple choice. I'm doing this with one hand, friends. Okay, actually, the pages are so thick, it feels like I don't have it. It feels like I don't have it, but I do. Okay, so here, the Western Frontier, on your own paper, write the letter that provides the best answer. So you can keep this for multiple students because they don't have to write on this, and this is your teacher guide anyways. So you can go ahead and use your download, the free download, and print these sheets or photocopy if that works better for you, and then have them do the multiple choice. So I think I'm probably going to lean more on this for this particular student and less on the DBQ, though I do want to do a couple of those things together. And then you have like the answer key and things like that. So these are assessments, so you know that they are actually learning and consuming, and then also they get used to that type of format. Even if you've done more Waldorfy, Charlotte Mason, whatever, and not have that type of format of schooling, it's good to expose them to that because they will be exposed to it in some higher level of education at some point, or maybe more narrative or anything like that, which, you know, that's where you want to get them used to all those things too. Here you have performance task, and with a claim and a prompt. Industrialization, westward expansion, or reform movements have greater impact on the United States during the late 1800s and 1900s. Explain your choice. And then these little things are telling you where to find these informations too. Sample claim, reason, evidence, counterclaim, and answer. So everything is spelled out for you. Again, this is very traditional. Here's a source. This is all under your teacher resources under the same book. This is a performance scoring rubric, so that you're like, okay, well, how do I grade my child's papers or things like that? Then you have all this in here for you. Then I wanted to show you some primary source analysis. This is another activity page, and you see there they're marked 1.1. So when it tells you on the teacher guide earlier on, you know where to find it in the back. And this, it tells you right here, use with topic 1 and 3. So very, very clear. So I may do this like a color per topic, so I can flag the activity to match back here. I don't know. I have to think. I do my flags different depending on what I'm doing. So everything is very individualized. So Native American conflicts. Use the information student volume to detail the costs and effects of major conflicts. Dakota War, St. Creek Massacre, Navajo Long Walk, Battle of the Little Bighorn, Wounded Knee Massacre, next Percy War, and so on. So here is another vocabulary activity sheet. Here's your answer keys, and then it goes on. Here's your next topic, and then you're gonna have those resource pages as well. Quickly, the Land of Liberty DBQ workbook. This one has quite a bit in it, and that is going to pair with the student workbook, student edition that I just showed you, which is this. Has some images as well, and the primary source. And here you have all your topics in this one book, so all 6 units are going to be in here. And the same setup, why teach primary sources if you're not sure, how to analyze it, describe the source, connect the source, comparing the source, understanding the source, drawing conclusion. All this is just like onboarding info for you. People love to jump into the first lesson without reading introductions, and I'm telling you, that is where your prep comes from. There is no such thing in my book as open and go. Even in things that are written in that format, there's still things that we need to learn first or get familiarized with before we open the first lesson. That's just my recommendation as somebody who's been doing this for over a decade. All right, so about this workbook, historical thinking question frames, continuing change, and here is that first letter that I showed you in the student book, and then here you see it with answers of what you're looking for. Okay, so this is what you're looking for, and then observations and things like that. So this one in particular, you don't really need printed. You can just, if you're okay reading on screen, which I am not, you can definitely view this online, or, you know, because you can read most of this from your student's book and then read the responses yourself online. So if you wanted to save a list. Basically, that is everything I am going to be working with this summer. Well, not everything for this course, but there's a couple of things I'm working through with English. I'm trying to finalize science for my youngest. There's a lot of work here, but this is everything for this US course if you bought everything printed. And then you could also get the Civics course, which will have the teacher guides and student readers as well with it. I hope that was helpful to you, or maybe you were just curious to see what an upper level course looks like, especially one that's available for free. I hope that a little look inside of what I am processing and working towards this summer was of interest to you. If not, I don't know, whatever. I'm just here. So anyways, that's what I'm gonna work towards. I have a lot of decisions still to make, and it's a little hard because normally something I'm strongly leaning towards, and once I make the decision to order something, I have it in front of me, and like once I'm holding it, then I know how I can use something. But at this point, this was the only thing that my husband and I agree that I could still order and keep in my hand, because everything else needs to be packed and put in storage for a time being. And I couldn't order a whole bunch of other stuff because like where we're gonna put it. But this, I knew it was gonna take me at least a couple months to get through, because of how I want to do things. Not that it would require you that much time. I still would take at least 2-3 weeks to get yourself acquainted to a core knowledge course. This in depth, if you're planning to do it full out. If you're planning just to do it as a supplement, maybe not so much, but you know, just to familiarize yourself with the subject matter and with how things are being presented. And if you want to add something, you want to add more information one way or the other, then you know, that is where you have the prep. Instead of like bumping into it in the middle of the school year or quarter way in, and you're like, wait a second, we haven't covered this, like, and I really wanted to cover this and it's not part of it. Then if you know ahead of time, then you can be amply prepared for that. So that's what I'm gonna do. Again, I make no promises that I am not going to turn this on its head and add something different with it. But for right now, this is what my daughter is requesting, so I'm trying to honor that and trying to stick with that. So I still have my youngest that I can try to influence into doing what I wanted to do. But that may not work either, because you know, when you have high schoolers, they have very strong opinions. Anyway, stay tuned to my next episode. I'm gonna have you walk through updated view of our new build, and I have some summer book releases on my radar that I haven't mentioned yet, and I thought that we could chat about those too. So stay tuned to that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and hype maybe if you like, and share my channel if you find this place entertaining or helpful. Thank you so much for being here. And now I have to put this back in the box that is coming to our temp home.
And it's so heavy. It's so heavy. I'm gonna go back to making more stuff go in the boxes. I hope that you're having a beautiful summer. Bye-bye.